Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the pleasure of working on a Shimano rear drag fishing reel. This is the FX4000. It's about the largest size that I would consider using as a rear drag. The larger you get on rear drags after this, well, they're limited by the max drag capacity. Well, this one's been around in certain variations for quite some time now. Spins free and easy. It has the quick fire or fast cast bail release, and we'll show you how to take this reel apart, how to service it, and how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. Well, we're going to start by removing the exterior pieces and parts. I'll start with the handle, and as we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting the videos, and well, you'll have a chance to see whether you like those or not. There's all kinds of videos that get posted, saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing, everything in between, all types of reels. And well, I'm sure there'll be things to interest you, and a subscription with the notifications is the best way to go. When I remove my pieces and parts for them, I put them into a parts tray. That parts tray helps me keep track of where I am with the reels. And well, if I ever need a part, I know where to find it when it comes time to reinstall. I'm going to remove the back adjuster cap. You remove the screw and then you back off the cap. And eventually it will unscrew all the way. And then to notice with the Shimanos, and this is a good place to tell you to go take pictures, there is a clip here that goes inside that's holding the rest of that rear drag assembly in place. We're going to service that rear drag as part of the overall service, but before we get there, I'm going to take the rest of these off. This should spin off. Well, of course I took the drag off. Let's remove the case. We'll move there, plan B. If I had the drag tightened down, you can spin that spool off the axle shaft. Alright, there's 4 side plate screws. They're Phillips head. You don't need to remove the one that's the anti-reverse override screw. And this is a good place to tell you to take pictures. When you start removing pieces and parts from your reel, pictures are very helpful in establishing how the reel looked before you started the disassembly, and they're invaluable in helping you should you get stuck during the reassembly. That would be things like what went on first or last, the orientation of the piece, and so on. And that helps to answer questions that you may have. When I take these screws out, I put them on my desk. And those of you that have watched me do this before and understand that, well, not all fishing reels have the same set of screws in every slot. Some are longer, some are shorter, some are wider, some are narrower, some have different threads on them, and so on. In this case, all 4 of those screws are the same. So I know when I go to reinstall the side plate now that I shouldn't have any issues at all with placement of the screws. All right, with those 4 screws out, you can remove the side plate. And if there's anything to be said about this reel, well, it's very dry. You can see there's nothing left over in the side case here. And for the most part, everything here is devoid of greases and oils, which is a reminder as to why you should service your reel on a regular basis. When I'm asked what that regular basis is, I'd say annually usually suffices for most people. If you really fish the reel heavy, then maybe twice a year, maybe mid-season, you want to go do a little tune-up or at least a relubrication. But at a minimum, once a year. Now Shimano, they're on to these things, right? Somebody's buying this reel. Chances are they're not fishing it every day or every week even. And well, quite honestly, when they break, there's an affordability question that goes on next. Does it make sense to pay somebody to fix it? No, but you can do this yourself, and that's what the channel is about here. It's about showing you how to service the reels and keep them fishing, well, quite indefinitely if you service it well enough. We took off this kind of H-shaped clip. One groove goes in above and below on the axle shaft. Now we can pull the axle shaft out. That came out free and easy. I'm going to leave the spool on there. There's no drags or anything in that spool assembly, so you don't need to remove it. But again, if I had the drag locked down there, I could have removed it. Okay, on this one, it's important to note that I'm going to take this out, even though it doesn't need to come out. If I can get it out. Well, probably the other side will fall out. Let me show you what I was going on for. There's two studs inside this case, and there's two arrows right here. Those studs need to go into the hole in the case. If they don't go in the hole of the case, this bushing will be higher than the surrounding case. In this case, it's flush. If it's higher than that, your reel will bind up. So make sure if that did come out that you have located those studs. With the axle shaft out, we can remove the main gear. And as you can see, there's absolutely no grease on this at all, which would be why this reel is turning a little bit slow or a little bit sluggishly. Same thing is going on here with the crosswind or oscillation gear and the crosswind or oscillation slide. In all cases, that needs to be relubricated. And on the back here, same thing. You're going to have that bushing. It has the two arrows on it that correspond with the slots, and it needs to be flush to the case. Well, the only other thing I need to do here is remove the upper piece that's held in place by a U-clip. And notice on this U-clip, when I pulled it up, there's a notch on the one side, and that one side is to the right of the pinion gear. So you need to make sure that when you reinstall, you install it that way. That will allow you to lift up and out on the rotor assembly. And when I do the rotor assembly, I like to use some penetrating oil in the slots along the way. As long as this bail is firing fine, you don't need to take it apart. And it's doing just that. And that penetrating oil, although not the best lubricant, is fine for what we're doing here. On the top of this, you do have an anti-reverse dog, and you have the little spring assembly underneath. You need to make sure that those are set properly when it's time to reinstall. So one of the things you need to do, you have this little rubber plastic one. It has a slot in it, and you're going to notice on the back side of this rotor that there's a corresponding spring with a 90-degree up. You want to load that over. Sometimes when you do this, it's just going to come out by itself, and you're in good position there. If it didn't come out by itself, if it's still on there, you don't need to do anything other than when you go to reinstall, you need to make sure that that little plastic tag end is between these two goalposts here. All right, I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning on the dog. You do not need to remove that anti-reverse dog as long as it is working. And this one's working. You can see there's a spring here, a tag on a spring. It circles that post and it comes around and it sets down here. So if you've taken that off for some reason and you're wondering how that spring works, you can have a better view of the spring here. Hooks on the top, goes around that screw, comes out the back side here, hooks around the post. And if you get a dog that's working like this, it's working fine. You do not need to remove it. I like to make sure that I have that set for the anti-reverse dog off when I'm working on it. Well, that's all we have to do there. We want to check on our pinion gear that's attached to the rotor. There is some dried grease in the slots here, so I'm going to use a pick. There's not many of them. But I am going to use that pick to just kind of work that out. We'll put that there. And then we can go reinstall that top end assembly. And I like to, well, when I work in sub-assemblies, I like to make sure that, for the most part, I can put them back on the reel as soon as I can, rather than leave them kind of clogging up my box. There's your tag end on the eccentric. Here is your goalposts one and merge and make sure that it goes between the two. Spin the reel. Well, we can put that anti-reverse back on. Spin the wheel. See where it stops. If it's stopping here, that's where it should stop for your quick release button. If it's stopping 180 degrees away, which is the only other place it would stop, pick this up, turn it 180 degrees, put it right back down again, and you will have fixed that issue. Okay, the clip goes in now. Remember what we said, the notch on that clip. Belongs on the right side. Find your groove. Put the clip in. It installs like that. And you're done with the top end surface of this reel. On the bottom end now, we want to take care of the crosswind blocks and gears. But I think while I have these pieces out, I'm going to put those in my parts tray. Let's go down and deal with the rear drag system just to show you what it is. First thing to note, you have this big C-clip kind of a thing with two studs sticking out of it. And the orientation for reinstall is to the front side of the case, not the handle side of the case. There's two little clips that come out. Generally what you'll do is you'll come in from the back end and push one of those out. Sometimes it comes out easier than others. Hold it because it is a spring, and then remove it. That's the clip that you've just removed. That's holding your rear drag assembly in place. With that out, you should be able to pull the rest of the assembly out. You're going to notice a couple of things in here. Let's push this down and out. It's a good place for pictures so that you know the orientation of the pieces and parts. We have a drag stack here. It's made up of 3 or 4 drags. You have a drag up top. You have your drive where the axle shaft is coming through. You have your click to let you know that the rear drag is working. These are hard washers. You don't need to do anything with them. I'll just take an example of one of these out. But there's a brown one, and then we have the blue one sided on each by a metal washer. The middle washer is a keyed washer. The outside washers are eared washers. They have points that go into the case and nest this into the reel. We may have to take them out. Here's your 2 slots for the eared washers. Try and line those up, see if I can't get these in for a reinstall. There we go. So push all of that down after showing you that. These washers are fine. Do not need attention. Make sure that when you do this, you get it all the way down so that the top of it is coming through. You have your spring and your carrier are next. I guess I can remove the spring. It's nothing to it. That's your carrier. There is a metal washer underneath the spring, and then that goes into the cavity. And now you need to take that little horseshoe clip that we were referring to before. Remember what we said, that installs to the front side. So find your 2 little grooves, set it in one side, roll it around, let it snap into the other side, and that's how your retention clip holds your drag. Okay, with that on, now we can, you don't have to fill this up all the way, but you can get that started. All right, back to the internal side then. We want to take that oscillation gear. We want to get grease all over that gear, into the stud hole, on the teeth, and on the face, which is where the slide is going to do its work. Once you do that, put that into the reel on the stud and have the stud of the oscillation gear in the down position. Same thing with the oscillation side, only on this one you only need grease on the back. That's the only thing that's going to come in contact with anything. Bring that in and over the stud. Position it just like that. And you want this to be pretty square because you're going to line up the axle shaft as it comes through. Well, these gears are completely dry and devoid of any greases and oils. If they did have the grease and oil, you would go ahead and do what we did with that pinion gear up top. You would get a little pick or something, maybe a soft brush, pull all the old grease out before reapplying new. The grease I'm using is Penn Precision Reel Grease. It's a fishing reel grease, and I only recommend that you use fishing reel greases on fishing reels. Okay, that can get reinstalled now. And with the main gear in place, we can now take that assembly with your spool attached to it. Light greasing onto that. Bring it through the top. Bring it through the oscillation slide. And then match it up to your gear or your drag stack below. Look for the two slots, one high, one low. And take the H clip. One goes in the top, one goes in the bottom, and it kind of closes like a gate. And then you have one small screw that's going to hold that in place. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, maybe you're working on one and having some difficulty with it, just leave those questions in the comment section. I will try to answer those for you. That is the most effective way to try and reach me, is the comment section. If you try calling that number on the business card, well, it's hit or miss. And unfortunately, if I'm doing videos or working in my shop, that just doesn't get answered as quickly as maybe you're hoping for in terms of an answer. I do try to answer the questions in the morning, so if you have those questions, please leave them and I'll do my best to try and help you out. Again, this is a channel that's dedicated to teaching you how to do it yourself, and I understand from time to time, well, things won't go according to plan, so I have no problem with trying to help folks out. Let's show you how this reel works. When you turn your gear, the oscillation slide goes up and down. That causes your spool to go up and down. Just like that. Okay, we can take our side plate. I'm using a cotton or a kitchen swab that has a little bit of rod and reel cleaner on it, and there's some residual there. You don't need much with that. A little grease. Remember to shim washers on that gear. Set your side plate in place. Make sure you get a nice crisp snap like that. Check all of the seams on the body to make sure that they're nice and tight and that there's no gaps. If there's gaps, something like what we were just talking about before, where the side plate bushing may have slipped and come out of those little studs and sitting proud, well, that would be an indication of why the side plate didn't go all the way down. Doesn't take much to get these askew. All right, 4 of these screws, I put them in an X pattern. I like to keep the tension equal by doing that. We got 2 more to go. We said they were all the same size, so it really didn't matter which way those worked. So we'll put those in play, and we'll tighten up that drag, and we'll give it a test. I have no question that this thing, even though it was running nice and smooth with no oil or grease inside, at least that we could see, putting that oil and grease there is going to help the performance tremendously. Same thing with that little bit of spray onto the bell. Even if it was tripping, eventually when it starts to get jammed up with grease and dirt and debris and the like, doesn't snap as crisp, and well, it becomes problematic later. All right, we're going to tighten this cap down. Take our back end nut. Tighten that up. We can install our handle. This handle screw's got a little square piece of plastic that inserts into the main gear. Keeps it from rolling around. And we'll bring it over and tighten that down. Okay, the last piece of the service here actually is a piece of old line sitting on there from before the reel got this despooled. I'm just going to try and break that off. There we go. And when you're servicing these on an annual basis, regardless of whether you're using braid or using a monofilament or the like, I do recommend that you remove the line and replace the line. It's just not that expensive, and you'd hate to lose the fish of a lifetime because you just wanted to get one more year out of it. All right, we've taken the reel completely apart. We showed you all about the drag system. Check them out. Those drags were fine. Showed you how to remove the rotor with that U-clip to access that pinion gear, clean all of that up, lubricate that anti-reverse dog that's in there. We showed you how to set the anti-reverse dog's little eccentric arm that's spring-driven underneath so that it always returns to the back end. This is a one-stop anti-reverse. It's only going to stop there to set you up for your next cast. And we tightened it down. Let's make sure that the spool, the drag is holding. The drag's holding fine. Let's give it a turn. Look at that. That's just a beautiful reel all around. For a price point performer, it's very, very affordable. We're going to override that for a moment, the anti-reverse dog, just to make sure that if you wanted to fight a fish without that anti-reverse, you could. And we'll put that back on. And now let's just try to flip that for the casting, bring it back. Works great. I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, rescue, EMTs, and the like. Thank you for all it is that you do in the interest of public safety. And I want to wish everybody great fishing on the waters, tight lines, and well, if you have a moment or two, I wish you the best of luck in servicing your reels and in keeping them ready to catch the big ones. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.